everyone. I'd like to welcome IndigoAngel to Quantum Messages. Thanks for joining the show.
Hey, Ani, I am so happy to be here today. I know we're going to get into some pretty pressing topics, and I look forward to getting into the shenanigans with you.
Thank you so much. So right before we went on air, we were having a pretty, energetic discussion about what's going on in LA. Why is this happening? We were also talking about Freemasons and the upside down pentagram or the inverted pentagram and what's going on within the Bohemian Grove, as well as the Draco Black Mind Hive infiltration taking over all the Stargate, well, basically all the Stargates portals on our planet, as well as the shift in and change that I've been noticing with the children. They're getting sicker. They're mentally and physically unhealthy. So we were talking about that, as well as these mass rapes that are happening towards women and the destruction and genocides that are going on 100 years ago and on our planet right now. So we're just going to really dive deep and get into it. I had actually a huge list of questions. I had 10 pages of questions for you, and I had to condense it down, but it seems like we're just going to kind of go with the flow and just kind of really get into it. So this is IndigoAngel. If you want to research her more and go into her deep, deep study of everything that is metaphysical, esoteric, grid work, anything that has to go with the galactic community, please go to her website, IndigoAngel222.com. I have been following her for years, and I've learned so much from her. So I'm so happy to have her on the show. Yeah, and we're just going to get into it. Indy, what are you seeing? What is happening right now?
You did so amazing there with the introduction, with kind of highlighting all of the things that we were kind of filtering through. Yeah, there are a lot of pressing matters at hand right now. There are a lot of things that are coming up for us to see the shadow and what's truly in the Vault of Orion, what's truly in the Black Sun Wheel, what's truly in the Fall of Atlantis codes. I mean, all of these codes, I mean, in terms of the grids, coming from the grid worker perspective, which means to be one that can basically access the planetary consciousness at a level of avatar logos consciousness. And you can see holographic geometry in the planet. You can see Stargates. You can energetically, telepathically communicate and work with Stargates, ley lines, all of these, organic structures in the planet, which essentially sustain the planetary spiritual immune system. Mm-hmm. Okay, it sustains our spiritual existence. It sustains our entire existence. I've seen a lot of the wormhole systems in the 666 wormholes. As you know, you've studied Ashana's work and her, original Stargate map, and that's where I think this was first presented, right, through Guardian Alliance consciousness. But the 666 wormhole, it's ripping and tearing, it's expanding. The Tower of Babel seals are releasing. The 10th Stargate in Abadan, Iran is essentially funneling into a wormhole system, and the Bermuda Triangle wormhole system, black hole system is essentially opening and expanding. It's really pulling a lot of the parallel timelines. It's pulling a lot of our potential timelines, our possibility timelines in 3D, and it's collapsing a lot of that structure. Now, this is a shadow matrix. This is the fallen matrix. This is the Metatronic Earth. That's what the 3D is. And so right now, what has had to happen, I think, out of Guardian emergency on the Earth right now is they've actually had to seal off the new Earth systems, and they're basically protecting them at the moment. They're not disconnected from people on Earth, but they've had to be essentially, I almost feel like New Earth is under a quarantine situation at the moment where it's being protected, because what's happening on Earth right now is a meta-galactic invasion.
And why is this happening? I mean, it's obviously because of what we're carrying within us. We have been suppressed for thousands of freaking years, humanity, and we've been infiltrated. We've been tinkered with our genes and everything. So, I mean, we have the ability to reach the next avatar level. And I just it's almost like there were so many, like you said, timelines that were potential timelines that we could have gone down, but it looks like right now we are kind of going down this darker timeline. I mean,
it's not a helpless and hopeless
yeah.
timeline entirely.
Okay.
I just want to say that first and foremost. I think we have, in terms of the greater scale of existence, that the universal consciousness and the prime creator consciousness, you know, it is ultimately eternal divine love. You know, it
Right.
is truly compassion for all of God's creations, all the way down to the Draco reptilian, you know, parasite. But you know, that's what it is, because ultimately it's a school of consciousness evolution, and we have to go through this at a generational level. We have to go through this at a planetary ascension cycle level as well. And we forget that we're all one human collective. We are all one human soul at the end of the day, and we're all going to leave this earth at the same time when we go. A lot of people are like, oh, when I reincarnate, I'm going to go and come back. And it's like, no, you're going to kind of free yourself. No, because we come from the same cloth.
Right.
The problem is that humanity is just going through a major shift. We're going through another upgrade and awakening, and another upgrade in our intellectual ability, right, for us to see things. And so a lot of shadow is coming to the surface, and we have to cleanse it all the way to the deepest level of the evil in which exists, which takes us into the internal black cube matrix Saturnian system inside of the earth. This is the vault of Orion. Okay, this is, and these black hole systems funnel into that. So technically, we're going into the singularity, which is absolute chaos, but absolute truth at all times. And it's intense AF. Right. But we have to not really get fearful. We have to just ultimately change and shift our own inner vibration, in which is taking us into becoming stronger, but it's also making us become more intolerant to things that are immoral, because God's fundamental principles are based on morality. Yeah. I mean, that's really what the commandments and all of these things are about. This is what the Andromedans brought to the planet. Yeah. So we're cleaning house. We're cleaning house, and it just sucks because it's vile and futile and diabolical. And now we have to process it.
Right. And how long do you think this is going on? And it ties in exactly with Ross said through the Law of One channeling. I don't know if you've looked into that or read that, but he basically said that the service to self entities have been infiltrating our system on Earth for a long time. And overall, it's, there's a combination of service to self and service to others on this planet. And ultimately, like you said, this planet will go to a service to others planet. There will be that golden age. But it's, the only way out is in or through. And it's just, what we're seeing now, it's going to start ramping up. Like all the prophecies, the indigenous prophecies have been calling for this time since time immemorial. They have seen it. The Kagaba Nation said and warned us November 2023. If we don't start cleaning up our acts now, or the earth will need to do the cleansing herself. And it's going to happen in 2026. It's starting to show with these fires and the other things, that are happening on our planet. It's also showing within the complete and utter fragmented selves of, humanity and how people are going in different directions. The Kagaba said that, and in their prophecy, that the ending is falling into the beginning. And so it's going to be crazy. It's going to be really freaking crazy.
Yeah, I really, really like what you just said there. I think we have to just remember that we asked for this.
Yeah.
We've been asking for this. What we're seeing is the call to our prayer. It is our answer. The swamp's getting drained. We're having regime changes. Darkness and subjugation of women is coming to the light. I think this is, I feel like I've been standing at the top of a skyscraper for literally like the last 5 years shouting, forced breeder programs, forced breeder programs. Everyone looks at you like, what the fuck is that? And they just keep walking, and it really takes a deeper level of education to understand what a forced breeder program is. And it takes a process and many, many layers to awaken to that and be like, what the F? So, you know, I can't blame people for me shouting that, but I mean, it brings us back to, we need to look at where our most innocent and vulnerable are and how are they being treated. This is going to show the world exactly what they need to see in terms of what evil is.
Right.
And where it's existing.
Yeah. And right now it is the infiltration into the minds and the souls of the younger generation of the children. And I'm talking about 25 and under. Because you're not.
I want to say to that, I think we need to ban TikTok first and foremost.
Absolutely.
It's crack addict. It's they are addicted in a way that is unhealthy to their central nervous system. It's unhealthy to their spiritual immunity. It's unhealthy to the development of human social interaction. And not only that, we have predators and pedophiles and reptilian, barbarian, draconian rapists and diabolical soulless parasites at the apex of those control structures, in which design the propaganda for 25 and under on the earth. And it's all a trickle down system in which they have particular agendas and narratives. As we know, transhumanism is one of the top ones, transgenderism, gender confusion, because they know exactly what they're doing. The method of their madness has been proved for centuries, and they are going straight to the core of what sustains their identity. And, you know, we really know that this is happening, though, in more specific places, essentially where the Earth's grids are the most blocked to organic systems, where most frequency fences are running, where black hole, wormhole systems are running, where the Metatronic grids, fallen systems, all those things, where those are, you know, and so we're seeing the dominoes start to fall essentially in those areas. But
so where are they though? So, I mean, I know LA, San Francisco, the Vatican, New York, Washington, D.C. is crazy. The Pentagon right there. That's another crazy one. Probably London. I'm assuming like the bigger cities, parts of the Middle East, like they're, you know, suppressing, like you said, Stargates in the Middle East. Because you said there was one in Iran, but do you think that there's more? I feel like there's more portals.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The entire ancient Sumerian, Persian Gulf. You know, where the original Anunnaki Stargates are located. You know, there's multiple. I mean, that's an entire hive itself. I mean, the thing is we know that the Dracos, they're underground dwellers. They live through tunnel systems. They embed themselves through under the ground and through tunnel systems. And so their greatest underground labyrinth network is in Iran, and it is ultimately in Syria. And, you know, they're trying to, you know, do that in Israel and Gaza, like the whole Palestinian war. Like there's an element of the Draco Hive Soul Collective of this. I mean, it's the galactic wars playing out before your eyes. They had Draco spaceships around the planet for the last few years, you know, just preying on their invasion strategies essentially. And so, I mean, yeah, they got all kinds of hives. The good thing is, you know, we were doing some looking at this, and really a lot of them, they're being removed from the planet. This is what's happening. They're literally like they're, you know, collectives and stuff like this. Like a lot of them are essentially being extracted and removed. They're being taken off Earth. But yeah, so they're tunneling themselves all through the globe, really. But I mean, of course, they've hijacked the Archangel Michael ley line, all of the locations that you just said, absolutely. London, Paris, France, the Obelisk network. You just have to look where the Obelisk network is. I mean, that's the phallic matrix, patriarchal domination and control statures on the earth.
Yeah. And who do you think is taking them off planet? The Guardians?
The Guardians are coming in. Yeah, we have Andromedans coming in. We have Sirians coming in, Pleiadians coming in. A lot of the you know, fallen angels, essentially, some of them are being rehabilitated. I'll just put it this way. A lot of these fallen Seraphi lines and even Elohai lines, like they're repairing a lot of their seventh dimensional body and repairing their wings. I mean, I know you've probably read some about that in Lisa Renee's work. She talks about the wing repair body. So yeah, basically the angelic systems are just having to activate, which means you know, heart, higher heart, angelic heart, and then really step into planetary guardian purpose and mission systems
Right.
within your angelic body. And
Right. Yeah. I mean,
that's
warriors.
forward.
Yeah. Warriors of light. That's what we are. I mean, that's what I really feel.
Well, we're having to get tougher. We're having
Yeah.
to kind of shift our perspective. We're having to go from love and light and compassion, and, you know, accepting of all things, to learning how to, you know, stare grotesque monsters in the face.
Right. Right.
And not be afraid of them. And that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had, most of us indigos and starseeds and light workers and those like are on the path right now. I would say over the last few months, we have had to reconstruct our heart from ground zero just to get to this place.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Yes, absolutely. I personally have been feeling a lot of anxiety. I usually don't get anxiety, but I've been getting a lot of anxiety the past couple weeks. And I feel things are starting to ramp up. There is something underneath the surface that I don't have a clear view of because of these frequency fences that have been put over us. And I really feel like it's like internal, and it's kind of like within the technology system. So the frequency fences have something to do with the technology system, but I don't know what's going on, but I've been having a lot of anxiety. Have you been sensing something? What are you sensing anything?
I mean, as I think we should on some level have a lot of anxiety right now. I mean, I don't blame you by any means. You know, we have a lot of children that are dying on the earth right now, and massive exodus on the planet. You know, we're having so much pedophilia, and again, the atrocities of the forced breeder programs that are coming forward with the deepest enslavement of women, you know, being put in prison systems, being beat to death, being murdered to death, being, you know, forced into conversions and marriages and all kinds of diabolical situations. This will create a buzzing anxiety on the earth. We're dealing with a level of trauma on a level of Earth's consciousness.
Right.
I don't know if people really realize as much. I realized this, I mean, I didn't so much until I went to Hawaii and was in a very high powered 48 dimensional guardian Stargate, was how much the earth actually needed our help right now. Healing the earth's spirit, body, and consciousness, connecting more and communicating more with what's going on the surface level with humans and with the galactic war that's occurring. There's been such a deep mourning that's happening within her own consciousness that, you know, and that's why I feel why we do see some of the things that are happening on the level of the terror reformation that's happening, the fires, the hurricane, South Carolina, everything was completely obliterated, almost a category 5. I think it was a 3 or a 4 by the time it hit, you know, but it's the intensity of things are essentially going to start creating, at some point they will create mass migrations.
And forced mass migrations. So do you think those, so when after the fires happened, and this is like, just like with Lahaina, I'm like, this is not normal. There's something not right about it. Was this natural, or was this created by another force? You know, and I'm feeling that way right now as well with LA. I know they have the Santa Ana winds, but there's something not right about it. And so I was on X and I was looking like through the feeds, because my family lives in Pasadena, and I'm almost 100% sure they lost their homes. Like, we don't know yet. It's not contained.
I'm so sorry, by the way, to you and your family. Like, I just send my love and healing to you guys, and I just hope that you can. I mean, gosh, that's not even enough. It's just not even enough to say. It's not.
And what sucks too is, like I was saying before, is that they're Armenian. So anything that we had left from the Armenian genocide, the pictures of my grandparents, anything that was left from them, the things that my grandmother made, are probably gone. So still, it's like another layer of destruction. And that's the other thing too, that a lot of Armenians live in that area.
Gosh, to me, as you're saying that, it almost sounds like they're trying to run like a cultural erasure where they
Yeah.
erase the culture essentially.
Yeah.
I think it's one thing to point out that the Crusades occurred because essentially there was an uprising of Islamicists essentially that were a threat to their existence. And so that a lot of people think that, oh, they just went around killing people. I mean, again, we can see how these stories are getting muddied in the water of what's essentially occurring on the earth right now.
Right.
But the Crusades were out of an effect, a demand to defend themselves from a total global collapse and takeover during their time. And so essentially, I think that applies to the Armenian genocide in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. I know that I think the Armenians and the Persians, because I mean, they're close or they're
Yeah,
close,
they're
they're
close.
connected.
Yeah.
These may have been the original ethno culturals of
Yeah.
those lands, the indigenous of those
Right.
lands. And that the genocide occurred because you were essentially attacked under a draconian rulership and
Right.
black heart regime,
Right.
cultural erasure
Yeah.
program that was running, and they're trying to essentially, genocide you because you were not being complicit with,
Right.
um,
Reform,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. Um,
Reform.
so yeah, it's a tragedy, and it's
Mhm.
essentially, that's horrible that you wouldn't be able to recollect your family's pictures
Yeah.
and things like that. Like, I'm so sorry, but that's
Yeah.
just that's a nightmare.
Yeah.
But it's good that you're bringing that up, because
Yeah.
I mean, this is bringing us back to why we have to talk about these things in the first place, and why people have to wake up. People
Yes.
have to get off desert island Earth and come back to Earth, because
Yes.
people are struggling out here and the truths are being revealed. And
Yeah.
we have to really look at things that are morally corrupt, and we're going through a time of a great purge. We
Yeah.
have to get these things up and off the planet so that way we can
Right.
purify ourselves as a human species and collective,
Mhm.
and preserve what we still have left, because the
Right.
Armenian people, the Persian people, I mean, I do feel that they would be the original Aryan races. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah. And it's really weird that you said that, because my whole life, so I started waking up when I was 15, after I started my period, which is kind of interesting. That's when I started having these like transcendental moments, and like I didn't know how to I didn't understand them, and I didn't have an elder to help me through. So I went the path of drugs, basically. I mean, and I started
Mhm.
using drugs, and I started, like partying, because it was a way for me to like try and understand what was going on with me. Because I didn't know what was happening, and I didn't have anybody to help me and guide me. And so I went through multiple deep, dark night of the souls from this moment. But anyways, my whole point is that during this time period, I was searching for my ancestry, and it started with my name, Ani Sophine, and trying to understand the meaning behind it. And what's really trippy is what you said. I started reading this book on Göbekli Tepe, Genesis of the Gods, Andrew Collins, and in here he states and is trying to prove that he thinks the Garden of Eden was in Armenia in connection with Göbekli Tepe, and Göbekli Tepe was a temple um, for Eden, basically, and he goes through like the process of trying to like prove it with whatever records that were left over after the Armenian genocide. And the Armenians have been saying this for a long time. And I find it really tripped me out. And exactly where it was in between Sophine, the province of Sophine, and this mountain range that was further north, basically up northeast, basically. And so there was a section like the land. So because of all of the volcanic activity that was happening, there was all of that beautiful soil, rich soil. And so they think that the Garden of Eden was there in between the four rivers. And so it started from the headwaters coming out of the mountain, and they said that those waters could heal you, basically. And so I just find it fascinating, your work and what you were doing, okay, and connecting the dots on that map. And I'm sorry if I'm not referencing it properly, but it was a couple of videos ago. And there's something about that whole landmass, which is trippy that you're like saying this. So
it's just such a significant
yeah,
area on the grid. You know, I would honestly feel like we would need to do like a deeper remote view
yeah,
as to the inner earth workings of the
yeah,
land, but it's just it's a very powerful Stargate system. You know, I
yeah,
would say Göbekli Tepe itself is the Stargate. I think it's the
yeah,
Sanusian Stargate on the planet. And I do feel that this may be the place in which the oldest indigo soul
yeah,
record exists and where they birthed and incarnated. They came through
yeah,
that gate.
yeah.
And I
You're
think
giving me
that,
the chills.
yeah,
And
I
I
know,
know,
right? I almost feel like I'm saying, I mean, I feel like I've said that, but it's like I'm saying it again for the first
yeah.
time.
I'm sure you have. Like, I'm sure you have. It's that whole region. It's like around Mount Ararat, and then it goes all the way around, and then it's spread all the way down into Mesopotamia, Sumeria, Iran. There
Yep,
is
yep.
something there. I don't know what it is. I've been searching my whole fucking life for it because I don't have the answers because they stripped it from us, in the genocide.
You know,
So
yeah, I want to say that's maybe where the Garden of Eden originated. I do feel though, for some reason currently, that the location would be located in Kauai, Hawaii. And if at some point somehow, if we're looking at an area that didn't, pull apart and come back
right,
together, because there's a lot of pieces of it that I think are still active on the earth.
right,
And honestly, they're so safeguarded that people that do not have the right codes to get to these locations, they are
right,
energetically denied.
right.
They cannot be. And this is what I'm talking about with that sever and that
Yeah,
protection of how certain things are being extremely kept in a pristine state.
right. And what's funny, I wonder if there is some type of connection because I forgot who he was, and I'm not referencing him right now properly because I have to look back at my notes. But he said, interesting enough, with the Armenians. So there's a specific indigenous group in New Zealand that said that they came from Armenia and that area. So there is some type of connection between the spreading out, like you said. There could be multiple Garden of Edens, on the planet. That was just one, and it has something to do with water and volcanic activity. Water and volcano, and the headwaters coming out. So
remote viewing the area, I mean, we've seen a lot of the flood remnants over in that area. I think I don't know where Noah's Ark essentially was. I mean, we'd have to look that up to reference it correctly, but I just intuitively feel like the Noah's Ark was in that area. You have the Syrian pentagram over there. This is the upside right pentagram, which is the, ethereal feminine, positive, life-giving energy. I think one thing that would clarify something like this is if somebody would just get to the root of where are the original creation stories of women, because this I think has everything to do with the fall of man, everything to do with the fall of Sophia and the womb. And, it's at the female crucifixion wound of the original sin. And this is what's put on and put into us and casted into us and demonized into us as black magic, curses and spells and hexes. And I do feel like the Anunnaki have a lot of blood on their hands for this. And the Draco have a lot of blood on their hands for this. And we have to literally stop taking the blame for the fall of man and realize that we're not fallen in the first place. This was a mind control indoctrination tactic to essentially subjugate us to slavery. Because the Anunnaki have openly said that we are a slave race. Like, I mean, so I think you're right. I think that there's a reason why I met you today. There's a reason why I've aligned with your energy. I think your genetics and your ancestors are coming through you at a desperate level to show that their memories must be remembered, and they're coming to protect you, and I think protect your family and protect the collective at this time. They have information.
Right. There is information there. And, there's only like 6-7 million Armenians left. I mean, we have 8 billion people on this freaking planet. That's not very much. It's like, it reminds me of the Native Americans and the indigenous people. And, the Turkish people still are not recognizing it. And it's so bad. Like my mom's last name is my dad's last name, Jemian. So any Armenian has an IAN at the end of their name. And she, I want to go back to Turkey with my kids. I want to physically go on the land, and maybe we can do like a grid work there one day. Like, I want to physically go there. And so I can remember. I mean, there's a lot of horror. There's horrible horror and bloodshed on that land. But if I can go there, I can remember. But she told me, she's like, I'm worried about going there. And, because we're Armenian. And my name too, Ani, they'll know Ani is Armenian. And her last name, she's like, I don't know if we can even travel there right now.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the safest time to go, but you are bringing a really critical point forward, which is that the most imperative grid work on the planet right now is in that area on the Earth. If anybody's doing any remote missions at that time, or any facilitator, grid work facilitators, I would urge you to take up missions in those locations to cleanse these stargates of all of the diabolical energy, continue to drain the Draco infestation and hive that's there, that's literally, slaughtering and genociding these people, and, help liberate freedom and God's sovereign consciousness. I mean, this is really what is the basis for New Earth. And so these things are not coming to New Earth. They will not be allowed on New Earth. There is no evil in New Earth.
No.
So like, we have to keep, and that's the amazing thing, is we are so powerful when we put our prayer, intention, and meditation, and we direct that. That's why I'm saying, when we see what's happening in the world, we asked for this. This is our blessing. This is our gift, because, we've been crying out. Our hearts have been bleeding for so long, to the point of collapse, to the point of seeing evil itself in our own son. I mean, for me personally, getting back from the Arkansas grid work, I crashed like I never crashed before. I hit rock bottom there for like a good 3 weeks. And it was because the depth of cruelty I seen, how I seen Saturn actually, and I've talked about this on my channel, but I mean, he's laughing. He's laughing. I mean, it's when we suffer, evil gets off on that.
Yeah, they do. It feeds into the fear matrix. And when people have that fear, or once they start becoming incoherent within their systems, it just siphons into it, and they're just siphoning that energy. And unfortunately, people, there's like a narrow-mindedness because they don't understand and they haven't been taught. It's more like the children haven't been taught. And because the children haven't been taught, now those, children from 50 years ago are now adults and parents, and they're teaching the same thing to their children. And I mean, I guess the point that I was trying to make is that, they're not being taught to see the unseen, and the children are being suppressed with their abilities, because they're coming in as like they're coming in as galactic warrior starseeds, this new group that's coming in. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what point I'm trying to get to, but I'm just seeing.
Well, the children have to be safeguarded right now. The children have to be protected. We have to look at every single diabolical threat that's pointing an arrow and a sword at our children, and we have to literally cut the head of the Hydra off, and we have to stop promoting things that we intuitively, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, and energetically reject grotesquely to our core. Right. And so I think we're trying right now. We are so working hard to do that right now. The problem is, at the moment, is just, I mean, really, we talk about censorship, and we talk about, how they are preying on their minds through the social media propaganda. We have to talk about getting China's programming our children.
Yeah. I
mean, Israel is programming our children. The Central Intelligence Agencies of the world are programming our children.
Deep state.
The deep state, the globalists. And so, and it's so, I mean, you can tell it's a censored platform. They don't allow any really narrative to run unless it's conducive to transhumanism or conducive to depopulation.
Right. Yeah.
And, so, but it's fed to them like the poisoned apple.
It is.
Right?
Like, that's how it's so good. Yes. And then they hook you in. And I do believe it is machine possession, and it is a parasitic mind control like, I don't know if it's even a virus, because parasites and viruses are different,
Yeah.
but it's like, it's a parasite that like hooks in, and it's like, because it's happening right here, and so they're seeing it with their eyes, right? So it's the eyes and that stuff's coming in, it's like hooking somewhere in their brain. I don't know how to describe it. So to where they're like so just like engrossed in this screen.
We
I don't
know
know.
it's
Yeah.
well, yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
They definitely, I mean, they have so much information about us, technology. It makes you really wonder if, you know, the Draco hive intelligence capital of the world isn't already and completely ran over by a sentient AI or godlike AI. I mean, how do we know that doesn't really technically already exist? We can't find out.
No.
We just know that the problems are so extensive and are breaking down all of our systems, and our children are being sacrificed under the satanic ritual abuse and the upside down pentagram.
Yep.
So
That's
so I mean,
yeah,
it's tough because we all use social media. We all like it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one part of the problem with brain implants, which is a real thing, Draco implants, which are real things, J seals, which are real things.
Yep.
I mean, people need to get educated to these things.
Yes.
That they need to understand that there is a holographic predatorial field as much as there is a 3D predatorial field.
Right.
And so that brings us to I think boycotting things like medical tyranny and the needlecraft technology. And you know, they're such backtrackers because they're all in bed with the banks of the world and the money of the world and the Rockefellers of the world and the BlackRock regimes of the world. And that, you know, you'll see the reptilians shift and flip. I mean, I think Donald Trump himself is a reptilian.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He is a very veiled masked reptilian. And is he going to bring about changes and shifts? And is he a part of the New Earth prophecy? Yes. But it doesn't matter because his reptilian shapeshifter will come in and he will slither back into bed with the banking institutions. Once he steps into power on certain things, we will start to see a slow deterioration of backpedaling that will happen on certain things that got him to where he is now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The proof is in the pudding. You know, let's see, you know, I think from now, like, look what's happening, like in LA, that fire is a diversion to something else that is going on so that we are not privy to it. It is. We are getting close right now to that inauguration. Something else is going down.
Right. They're going to pull out every last card that they have. They're going to use. And when you said, are there weapon systems? Well, that wakes us up to the bigger idea that, the Dracos, they have an entire planetary modification weapon system already built into the planet, from nuclear pole detonators to pole alteration devices. Everything that they have going on down in Antarctica, they have neutrino beams and lasers that slice through like miles and miles of the Earth's material surface, and they can essentially implicate those fires by using lasers. I mean, and I think it's integrated with the blue beam technology, and so they can run programs and Armageddon software, and they and the UFO dystopian madness chaos, and galactic laser wars in the sky. So it's the machinery around us is absolutely insane. It's not real. I want to say it's actually an illusion. And it's been one of the Decepticon tactics of Saturn himself that he really implanted all of these machines here. The machine technology didn't really come from Earth. It's an alien invasion machineryware. So even things like, and I've been saying this, even things like cars, anything that is really fueled off of the blood of the earth. It's a parasitic technology. You know, it's so they're using these weapon systems against us. Yes, absolutely. You're correct. They crashed 7 airplanes in 1 week. You know, who were all the people on board those flights? And yet they've evaluated that. Who are all the people that live in the community where these fires are occurring? I bet they've not evaluated that.
Right.
You know, there's a warfare now going on where the Canadian prime ministers are saying, oh, well, you want to take over Canada. Well, we want to take over Washington, Oregon, and California.
Yeah. Interesting.
So,
Well, I mean, you know, what else is interesting too is, you know, Trudeau resigned, and Trudeau was basically handpicked by the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab handpicked him as one of the young leaders, okay, for the next, you know, what is it called? The New World Order. He was handpicked. Why did he resign? So, like, you know, right before, you know, Trump comes into power. And also, you know, Canada, I was also reading something else by Whitney Webb, who I love following her. But Canada was also, is also, you know, rich in minerals, cobalt, lithium, all these other minerals. So it was kind of going in with what you were saying, but
yeah.
a larger, you know, deeper scenario is going down under the surface that it's starting to play out.
Well, it makes me wonder how much, you know, are they, you know, same with it's another Anunnakian tactic, you know, in which they're going to mine that mineral or mine that resource and enslave it. Probably they're using it off systems, off planet. I mean, it's probably some, gosh, oh my gosh. You know what I just got is it was Elon Musk. Elon Musk was taking the lithium to Mars. You know, there's a reason why they need it. And there's some desperate pull to build this civilization on Mars.
Right.
While the whole entire world is in absolute ruins. I mean, they know stuff that we don't entirely know in terms of things that are really kind of occurring on the Earth. So, you know, we know that they've been in this spaceman war, you know, to get there and to build it. And, you know, it's funny. They had some people zoom out on some pictures of, I think it was Greenland or Iceland, one of those countries in which now we're supposedly going to be including into the United States whole shebang thing. Well, they found all those images that are the same images they took on Mars. They found them in Greenland or Iceland. I don't know which one it was. So it just makes you wonder, are they going to start? And is Greenland or Iceland actually Mars? We don't really know if we're on world or off world at all. I mean, our whole reality could be the freaking Truman Show at this point.
Right. Well, yeah, it is definitely, it's for sure.
I know, right? It's like, put that in perspective. It's like, okay.
And you can shift. You can also shift between different worlds. I don't know if you know Bashar. I'm sure you do. Bashar and like the channeling of Bashar. Bashar was saying that based upon what you are focusing on, you know, everybody's like, you know, going into the whole quantum realm. That there are multiple different Earths, like unlimited Earths, and we, based upon our perception, we like kind of shift in between these different Earths. And right now, the timeline is we're going down. We're able to see all of, you know, the Earths, and we're able to have all of these perceptions, but it's going to start splitting. So, which is hard. I mean, I understand what he's saying, you know, from a scientific, you know, perspective. However, there's this collective consciousness with humanity together that we all have to experience together. So it's hard for me to see how are we shifting to these different Earths. You know,
I think we do in terms of our timeline, vibration, and frequency, and in terms of which heart we have activated. You know, are we in the 3D heart? Are we in the oversoul heart, the higher heart, the angelic heart? We can transfer Earths according just to that, because that's a vortex, that's a portal itself, and that's where we transdimensionally quantum jump field is through that. And then that takes us to those other Earth planes. I think you're right. I think we have a 12th dimensional Earth, a 10th dimensional Earth, a 9th dimensional Earth, all the way down to a 1st dimensional Earth. And those of us that have figured out how to space-time travel through that telepathy and that awareness, that hologram, you're right. Oh, gosh, we're opening up so much. The collective humanity could be collectively existing in each one of those realities. And so, but I think we're being called right now. Many of us are getting the call to be warriors and come back down into lower timelines to be advocates for the innocent and the vulnerable and the weak. we're meant to kind of stand on the front lines of what's occurring because we're witnesses of 144,000, and we have guardian rescue mission roles on the planet, which means that we step into mission where the collective needs us the most at any given time.
Right.
So, and we know that there are people on New Earth protecting New Earth while we step away. We know that we're shielded and protected when we come down to 3D to actually do the hard, grimy, black goo type of stuff and slay a dragon or slay a beast. Or and when I say slay, it's really just work through the mirroring laws of reflection to show them their image, because that's how they learn. So we have to learn how to teach at different levels. We have to learn how to speak at different levels and be conscious that, you know, what we're dealing with in the lower timelines, which is our stuck collective, you know, our the collective that's essentially entrapped in the black hole system, in the reversal system. Like, I think we have to brainstorm down here, and we have to figure out how to pull it out of that timeline. I mean, is this something we need to send off-world grid workers to unplug the black hole system of Abadan? I mean, I don't think I've done a mission like that before, but that sounds pretty good right now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and I think like there's power in numbers. So like you said, it all stems down to educating and teaching others and helping them wake up to see, so that the more that we gather, the more power we have, and then we can start tipping the scales.
Is it just me, or do you feel like we've gone through rapid awakening like over the last few months? Like rapid. Like I feel like I'm so awake now that the sleeping people are so obvious. And it's so hard, because you know how stuck they are in that world, in that realm, and they're trying, and you can see them waking up in every moment. Like everything that they're hearing and they're saying, is like it's hitting them, like, and then you can see that they're an old version of you.
Right. Well, yeah, it's really trippy. At one point in time, I felt like, oh my, like I got this creepy feeling like, oh my God, like I know so much, but I feel so alone, because people were not at that awakening yet where I was. I don't know if you've experienced that before, but where you just like, nobody understands you, and you're just like, oh my God, like I know all these things, like now what do I do next? Because I'm, you know, walking this alone. So it's really about, like you said, coming together, teaching in numbers. That's where the power is, I believe.
You're so right. You're so spot on. And to anyone who feels like that right now, like I don't have anyone, it's time to throw that care book as much as you can out the window. It is time to just let people think you're crazy. It's time to speak your truth. It's time to believe in yourself. It's time to talk so crazy around everyone and say the truth until they vibrate themselves out of your field, or until you snap them out of their delusion and their sleeping state of their coma that they're in.
Right.
It's just, it is what it is right now. We're kind of at a place where the need to be so nice all the time is kind of
That's
not that we shouldn't be kind, not that we shouldn't be loving, but again, the intolerance is slipping, because we can't be tolerant, because we see the threat against the children, all of the pedophilia, all of these sick rape gangs that are going on in Britain. We're losing a generation of young girls over there. It's happening over here in the United States as well.
Absolutely.
We see how there's and we failed a generation here. We need to call out, I mean, truly, and you know, are the fires a diabolical weaponized attack, or is there some form of draining of a swamp there on some level as well? Because we know that the majority of the population of young kids that are probably most affected by the transgender mutilation, actual like surgical replacement of their breast and their genital regions, is happening in the state of California. It's happening in Arizona. It's happening in a lot of these particular places, but it is happening everywhere. But it's just that, we have to really, I think, support the nuclear family again. We have to support the mother and the father. We have to really give that power back to that place, because they are the first protector and provider of the innocent and the youth and their children. And then we have to protect the parents' minds and hearts.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a big
Yeah.
job. I mean, it's just a big job. When you were talking, yeah, I was just thinking of, the women. So, the girls being stripped of their power and their sovereignty and authority within, especially from rape. It is a lifelong, after that occurs, a lifelong healing that will need to go through with major support from elders and outside community. And then also of the boys, the young boys are apathetic. They're being stripped of their divine masculinity and their power by being fed the screens. Because I see the addiction more so with the boys. And it's almost like they're trying to suppress and take away their natural testosterone, which is to, be strong and like kind of like they would be more willing to fight, so to speak. I'm not saying fighting is the answer, but it's making them apathetic. And so really teaching the parents, like, but they're addicted too. They're addicted
Yeah,
too.
yeah, the apathy is definitely the word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow, that word was like coming through so powerfully the last few weeks for me too.
Yeah.
Um, well, it brought me back to when you were talking about the Garden of Eden over in Göbekli Tepe. I mean, I think it's also pretty relative to the Black Sea, and this is where a lot of the original Amazonian women, I think, originated from, was in these areas. And these were massive, giant women,
Yeah.
7-foot tall females.
Right.
Okay, that are like warrior sisters that, I mean, not all of them were that tall, but I mean they were big girls. I mean, they were like 6'2" and things like this. So these women they fought the men. I mean, they were female warrior tribes. This is a part of our history for a reason. I see some sort of, when you say that the boys are becoming more empathic, the women are becoming large. There's like, I don't know if you realize, but there's like a strange large woman emerging.
Right.
And so I do, and I mean that there's a lot of predictions that are happening that the Y chromosome is actually declining, that it will eventually, be removed from the earth. It's going to go extinct. And so I don't know if we can really see the greater scale of like what our human evolution genome of the mother mitochondria, what is occurring within that exactly. I think that poses a question on some level, right? It kind of brings in another layer of this.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad to think about, that could happen. But they do say that, when we talk about New Earth prophecy and some things that I've channeled with that, is that we might be transitioning into a gold blood, which is an H-null blood that is more of like, I would say, if in just guessing, I don't know for sure, but that it might be a non-binary or some sort of androgyny within that. And that reproduction might resume back to like individual replication, or there's another spiritual word for it, parthenogenesis, creation, that replication and just the whole thing of this might alter and change. And this is going to be coming from certain areas on the earth as well. I mean, Brazil is known to be the swaddling cloth for the birthplace of the gold blood. It's currently on the earth right now. It's the smallest and rarest blood type that we have. But the reason why it might be a necessity to sustain existence on the planet while things are shifting and changing to a point that if the blood doesn't become more electrically conducive, that we won't actually be able to harmonize, because the electrical current on the planet is going to be so much higher.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And when you were saying that, what's really fascinating right now is that, there's a decline in population, as Elon Musk always says, and he's trying to promote, in my opinion, breeding. He's not looking for, he has another agenda. Like, to me, it's like, what, you want women to breed in this type of environment right now? And so women are maybe unconsciously making a choice, like, I'm not going to have children right now, which is kind of going along what you were just saying right there.
If they want women to breed, I mean, okay, wow, they need to go address what's happening to the women over in the Black Tents, Abaddon Stargate at the moment, and free the women from slavery over there. and make breeding maybe something more of like a choice instead of something that is forcible through punishment and rape and through, oppressing the women's life force on the planet.
Right.
So I could only see Donald Trump and Elon Musk giving some incentive. If you have up to so many children, I mean, but then that would exploit probably the welfare system again. They'd have to create. I would say if there's any people on the planet that are deserving of that, it would be the single mothers of the earth. Regardless of how much money she makes, they should give the welfare system to those that are sustaining the population. If this is going to become the number one issue and crisis that we're facing, they don't support mothers. I mean, I could say this is a huge reason for the decline as well. Not only are women coming in with past lives memories of being forced to breed from past lives, and bring forth these reptilian mutants into the planet that can't hold a 12th dimensional light body soul, making us hate ourselves and hate our children. We come in with these memories that haunts our decision right there not to breed. And then essentially there's warfare over our reproductive system.
Absolutely.
So I mean, I think the men need to figure out how they're going to approach their mating rituals going forward, and kind of drop the satanic ritual abuse BS that we've seen all of this time.
Absolutely. And it is, I totally agree. And it's, and I always think like, fuck it, more power to the women. Okay. Then let us go through population decline. If they choose not to have children, let it be their choice, and so, it's just because they're so unknown, like where we're going to be going in the next, I'd say 20 years. Like, can you imagine like 20 years from now, like, let alone 5 years, 2030, where they say, Ray Kurzweil says, the singularity is coming forth around 2045, I think, if to be correct, but we're really going to start seeing 2030.
Yeah, that feels right. I feel like I'm already seeing it now. And it's kind of like with these, the depopulation thing, I mean, I think it is a threat. I think they do have the prophecy in the Quran that, Muhammad is the last prophet for a reason. And that his story goes that, I mean, Islam is going to essentially become the one world religion. I mean, if their prophecy unfolds, that would be global domination through their jihadist caliphate. And, people need to wake up to the fact that that's what they essentially exist for, that there is a deep embedded mind controlled Draco hive mind pulse system, the call to prayer that essentially is programming their brains 5 times a day to the legion of Muhammad, the Antichrist himself, essentially to annihilate every other form of life that doesn't submit to the rule of Allah. I mean, this is literally in the text. So I feel like I have to say it so brutally and cut dry, but I mean, like, that's what we're kind of looking at. You can see how that's posing an issue through the depopulation, through the immigration, and how that is a part of the subterranean cultures and going back underground. I noticed even the collective itself almost feels like the entire collective, like even indigos, are reverting back to a reptilian gene code design. I seen in indigo faces the other day, I seen more reptilian codes running, almost as if we'll shift back into more of a reptilian body, some of us, to sustain. So I think on some level, we're desperately trying to hold on to the indigo soul matrix here on the earth, because this is what we want to bring into the new earth. And again, like going back to the children, like they're the ones holding those codes. You see how fragile and delicate they actually truly are. They are the most fragile, sensitive beings on this planet. Their sensitivities are beyond what we experienced.
Right. Well, they're neurodivergent, and I worked with a lot of neurodivergent kids, and they are different. They see things differently. And neurodivergent kids are very easily manipulated by technology because they use it to calm them down. So they give them screens to calm them down.
Wow, yes. And it's done in hand from the baby, like right out the womb, just about.
And so there's more, and they have powers. These neurodivergent kids, they're sensitive. They're able to see things beyond what we see. They know things. And there's a lot of them, but they're also being controlled too right now. Yeah.
See, this is why the higher consciousness community has to merge with what's going on in the warfare timelines, because we carry the antidote to the problem. We carry the shift into the New Earth timeline, which is where these kids need to get to sustain themselves. We need to be able to intermarry the golden light cities, because those will be healing and education centers for the new Earth way of existence, which these children need to have this technology basically given to them and taught to them. And so, I mean, really, this is what the grid worker mission is about. Grid workers have to learn how to become a grid worker and help build that new Earth design. And it starts with what we're doing now. We're actually on the right track. As much as we're like sitting here just like vomiting all the chaos, we are building the new Earth right now. And it requires a lot of hard work. I mean, the boots on the ground missions are no joke.
No.
When we go on mission, we're extracting evil, we're cleansing darkness, we're calling in the highest sustainable forms of energy and light and consciousness that we can tap into on a logos level of consciousness, to go in and, you know, restore all these things on a level of the Earth, because the Earth will, you know, also be participating in the cleansing process. And we have to learn where our strengths are. It isn't speaking truth, but it is kind of going back into the spiritual work and knowing, like you said, how powerful we are in numbers, how powerful meditation. We have to remember, to get to this process, this is about becoming telepathic within the collective mind in which we share. It's about becoming telekinesis. We will become more telekinesis on New Earth. So we have to develop this and group thought, group think for manifestation and consciousness. We will learn that we manifest the future through collective thought. And so we're just, we got so many New Earth soldiers. Like it's really cool, actually. The spiritual technology we have access to. But you're right. There's a time and a season for everything. And I think us light workers right now, like a lot of us, like you, as I can see, like you're on the front line.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I'm tired of just, you know, being quiet. I'm done. I'm going to speak out, period. And same with you. You've been doing this you've been talking about this for a long time, you know? And so it's really interesting how I think, you know, we're starting to come together now. There are these synchronistic moments I've been experiencing that are just like every day, like, you know, like, whoa, like what is going on? And it's just, you know, there's a strong energy force that is bringing us together, like you said, to be the boots on the ground, the light warriors for, you know, humanity and the new Earth.
I think we've been being trained for this role for a long time. And so now with our wisdom and education of galactic history, now with knowing, you know, going back to the Lyran Wars and things like this, like learning about this, like we can apply so much more to the knowledge in which is coming through the mass awakening right now. So yeah, it's a beautiful time. Actually, in some ways, it's not. It's really it's hard. It's challenging.
Exciting. It's exciting.
But it's exciting. Yes.
Yeah. And my elder and teacher, Jyoti Ma, she always reminds me, focus on that which is breaking through. Focus, stay in the present moment and focus on that which is breaking through. All this other stuff, just pretend it's noise. But if we just focus on, like you said, this new Earth and that which is breaking through, you know, thousands and thousands of years of peace, that's what we need to go towards. So.
Absolutely. And I'm going to be teaching a course on this. Soon. So if anyone's interested in joining this course, we are at the apex of the future, what's occurring, those timelines. I think we're bringing forth some of the most revelational and revolutionary information that's we're so able to apply right now in terms of global healing. I mean, I'm doing healings and clearings like on the fly now. I mean, before I used to like prepare them. I used to say, oh, we're going to have one grid worker mission, you know, at this day in 3 weeks. I can't do that anymore.
Mhm.
Things are happening so quickly that I'm literally acting upon energy day by day by day by day, because I'm just going right into the call of what's being asked. So yeah, we have, I'm tapped into current information, everything of what's going on into New Earth. And I'm going to be teaching it all in a grid worker fashion, essentially, from beginner levels, some of the beginner levels, all the way to advanced levels of Gridwork Facilitation, which basically includes all the current events that are going on. So yeah, you can find that at learn.indigoangel222.com.
Okay. That's awesome. Well, I mean, Indy, it was such a great conversation with you today. I love talking with you, and it was very energetic, and we covered a lot. I don't even remember what we talked about.
I don't even know either. We were not in our bodies.
No,
I'll tell you that much.
Anyways, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, sister. Thank you, and thank you for everyone watching.
Yeah. And oh yeah, one more thing, love and light to all those people that are, you know, in LA right now. Like, we just want to send massive love and beams of love and light. So thank you.
Yes.